CPS took my son in 2015 because of my drug addiction, and I'm going to share with you guys what happened, the whole story of how my son got removed from my care and how I got him back. So I gave birth to my son July 4th of 2014. That's right, he was a little firecracker, and I was high on methamphetamine when I gave birth to my son. I was blessed, y'all. The Lord God protected my son, and he came out completely perfect, and 2 days later, we went home. For the next 90 days, I white-knuckled it. And after about 90 days, I relapsed and I was back on the needle and shooting methamphetamine, along with opiates and eating benzos. But for the most part, I was really bad hard on the needle with meth. My husband was working overnights, and my mother and father-in-law, we all lived together. So I had support. I had my mother and father-in-law to help me with my son. And I started to take advantage of that and leave my son with my mother and father-in-law and not come home for like 3 or 4 days at a time because I was going on meth benders. Well, on one of my benders, my friend Tara had owed me about $30, and I had called her because I wanted the money back because I wanted to go get more drugs, obviously. And she was refusing to pay me back. So me and my husband went to her boyfriend, who was a cop, and asked him if he'd pay us back. And he said, sure, and gave us the money, and it was all said and done. Well, that pissed her the fuck off. And she called me and she said, I'm going to call CPS on you. And I was like, whatever. Well, she did. They came to my house a couple of times. Apparently, I didn't know or I wasn't there. And they finally left a note on my door. When I got that note, I called them immediately. And they asked me to come to their office with my son. So I did. And when I got there, they asked me for a urinalysis. And I submitted to one. And I failed for opiates and benzos. I had been on a meth bender, but I had taken a couple days off to get some sleep, and I was just doing opiates and benzos. They came to my house that evening to give my husband a drug screen, and he also failed for opiates and benzos, but he had a prescription for the benzos. So they told us as long as I went into treatment that they were not going to take our son. I just had to get into treatment right away. So I started looking for detox. I was ready to go. The next day, they came over and informed us that they decided that we could not keep our son and that they were going to take our son. And so I had to pack my son up and take them to their office and give my son to a complete stranger. The moment I handed my son over to them, you guys, I looked at that lady and I said, take me to detox now. Drop me off at the local detox, the closest one. And that began my journey in fighting for my son back. If you guys want to know how I fought for my son and what I had to go through, please comment down below for part 2.